and welcome to another edition of Plain Talk here on Eagle Eye TV. I'm your host, Ken Ward, and this week we are joined by Auburn University Vice President for Student Affairs, Dr. Bobby Woodard. Thank you so much, Dr. Woodard, for joining us.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Dr. Woodard, your office oversees a lot of areas on campus that influence a lot of what students see. Can you just tell us just a little bit about what your day-to-day job entails and some of the divisions that you oversee?
Sure. So we have, it changes every day with the new president coming in and his new organizational chart. But for us, mostly what we do is the out-of-class experience. So we take and we supply or support what happens inside the classroom. Most of our students are going to spend more time with us outside the classroom than inside. So just to give you an idea, it's the Student Recreation Center, Student Government Association involvement, the medical clinic, Veterans Affairs, anything like that that's outside the classroom, housing and dining. So it's kind of the living part of classes that you have here on campus that we deal with on the outside the classroom.
We were talking about this a little bit earlier before we started filming, but recently when Dr. Leith came in, he put a lot more organizations under your control. Could you tell us just a little bit about what new organizations that you now have under your control now?
Yeah, so in Division of Student Affairs, we assumed 4 additional units last October 1st of 2017. Dr. Leith has a vision that all the out-of-class, again, what is the student experience? And he wants the student experience to be best it can be, and he wants to put some of those things together for synergy reasons. And so we have housing, campus housing, dining, first-year programs, which is Camp War Eagle, SOS, so forth, and then property maintenance. And property maintenance really deals with the housing and dining portion of that. And it's really nice because by the time the parents come in or the students come in, they know where to go. My job as the Vice President for Student Affairs is to be the chief advocate for all of our students, undergrad, whether you're taking 1 hour to you're taking a full load. And so now the parents and the students know where to go for that. And housing and dining is a big portion. And when that comes in, it's really nice to see where they can go and we can really think about how we move forward together.
You're talking about housing and overseeing housing. I know during his installation speech, President Leith really spoke about wanting to increase housing and make sure that pretty much, I think he mentioned that any freshman that wants to live on campus could live on campus. Could you tell us just a little bit about what you see that vision being in the coming years? Sure.
So he does. He would like to have any freshman that would like to live on campus, especially our out-of-state students that might not know the areas as familiar as our in-state students. So we're looking at campus master plan for housing, and we have already had 2 very informative meetings this past month about where we want to go the next 5 to 6 years on housing. If you look at the Hill, some of those buildings are a little older and we've got to look at replacing them or repairing them. And so we're looking at a new plan to build additional housing. And what we would like to do is have about 1,000 new beds on our campus sometimes between now and 2021. Now, some of those are replacement of the Hill if we have to take some of the Hill down. But it might be additional new beds also. And that gives an opportunity for people that want to live on campus to live on campus and not have a wait list or not be in the community market as much as on campus.
And we also see that we're going to be seeing some big changes with campus dining over in the next few months, starting, I believe, over in May.
Correct.
As the new dining contractor comes in. Could you go into a little bit of details about what you expect on the upper end of seeing from that and what you think some of the benefits of that change might be?
Sure. So we switched our dining contract, and it's a 10-year contract, and we will have a new vendor come May. It will go from Chartwells, which has done an excellent job for us over the last 10 years. We will go to Aramark is our new vendor. Aramark's in the college market. The big thing is you'll see is what we ask is a little bit of patience. We will have a lot of construction going on campus, new venues that are coming. We're looking at here, the Student Center. So a question about the Student Center is that at lunchtime, have you ever been here between 11:15 and about 1 o'clock? People are sitting on the floor, they're sitting on the stairs outside. Chick-fil-A line is crazy, as long as Papa John's and some of the other ones. Of course, Starbucks is always busy. And so we're looking at how we can better utilize this building and what we can do to open up more venues. And so what we're doing is designing a dining hall, a true dining hall that will go where Parker and Allison is at, and so we can still operate that or continue to construct that with Parker and Allison still there, and that construction will start later this year. You'll actually see it, the students will see it in the fall, in the spring of next year when we'll start moving dirt and so forth with that new dining hall. That will change dramatically because in there we'll have about 5 venues plus an all-you-can-eat dining hall. So this summer we're looking to turn Foy, doing some renovations in Foy to turn that into an all-you-can-eat dining hall. And then we can start bringing some other venues here. Steak and Shake is looking at one because people want a little bit of a hamburger joint coming in. So we're really looking at doing some of that. Cat Core is looking to come in and so forth. So I think it's just the different venues that we're looking at. This is going to be the biggest change for our students, different price point, a variety in that. But the biggest thing that we don't have here on campus is a true dining hall, and that's what we're working on.
And Auburn has seen some increases in enrollment over the past few years. We've gone from 26 to now I think over 29,000 students over just a few years, and some are saying that we're going to be up to 30,000 students in the coming years. With those new students, does that come some new challenges in regards to campus student life and things of that nature that you oversee?
Correct, it does, and you know, we haven't set a direct number that we want to get to, and the Board of Trustees along with the President and Senior Administration will talk about what we can handle. The biggest thing is infrastructure. When you look at the roads, no surprise here where we're going to park everyone for classes. You know, some of our busiest colleges are engineering and business, and if you look at that Magnolia sector up there, we really don't have a lot of parking. And so the biggest thing we've got to look at is parking in there, housing, how we're going to house them, and then of course, how we're going to feed them. And the biggest thing is, you know, you have all those ancillary things that support that, but can we offer the classes? Can we make sure that people can still get out of here in 4 years by not making classes so large, still having a relatively 20-21 to student-teacher ratio, and how can we get the number of courses we need to have that? That's a big debate for us right now because we are growing. We are still have that small school feel, which is what we want to keep, the family. Family's never leaving, but the good thing is we have more and more people that want to come to Auburn University. And so while there's more and more people come, there's issues that come with that and challenges, which is logistics usually. The other thing is that as we continue to grow and as downtown continues to grow with more apartment complexes and so forth, we have to make sure safety's there. So when we start talking about this, we're looking at safety at the same time.
Well, thank you so much. We got to take a quick break right now. You're watching Plain Talk here on Eagle Eye TV. We're joined right now by Dr. Woodard, who is the Vice President of Student Affairs here at Auburn University. Please join us with us in just a second after these few messages. Thank you.
As a mom and an Olympian, I know the importance of getting to the finish line quickly.
But quicker isn't always better when it comes to conversations about the dangers of underage drinking.
General Marshall is right. You don't need to get the entire point across in one dinner or one car ride.
Stick to those meaningful moments. A text or short conversation can go a long way.
And be sure to use resources like asklistenlearn.org.
They've got everything from conversation starters to facts about the dangers of underage drinking.
So start the conversation today about saying yes to a healthy lifestyle.
And no to underage drinking.
And welcome back to Plain Talk here on Eagle Eye TV. We're joined this week by Vice President of Student Affairs here at Auburn University, Dr. Bobby Woodard. Thank you so much, Dr. Woodard, for joining us here on Plain Talk.
No problem.
We were talking a little bit earlier about some of the challenges that might come with an increase in student body. You were talking about student safety, and what, even though student safety, I don't think doesn't directly report to student affairs.
It does not.
But you probably work a lot with them. Can you just talk a little bit about how your office works with the Campus Safety and Security Office and the Auburn Police Division in order to ensure student safety here on our campus?
So it does not. It reports to our Chief of Staff for the university, and you know, with the Auburn Police and with our campus safety, both of them work well. They work well, old machines amongst themselves, and they work together. They work really well. We are in constant contact with them because, again, most things happen outside the classroom, which then involves us, and on campus, say housing, so forth. So we have a good communication with them. The other thing is that our biggest thing is about knowing your surroundings. It's a bystander effect. Make sure if you see something, say something. So we work with them a lot on education. Make sure our students are educated on what's going on. You get these AU alerts. I know sometimes they can be, you know, why am I getting an AU alert? Why am I getting this notification? It's also so you can just be aware. They do a really good job of, again, taking care of an issue when something does happen. When something comes on campus, they take care of it. When there's something bad on campus, they take care of it, or on the peripheral of campus, they take care of it. But their biggest asset really is education, to show us what we need to know so we can better prepare ourselves for a safe community. You know, the simple thing we sent out at spring break about you locking your doors, keeping things, valuables out of there, we do that because we know that's when it picks up. And so that's where they come in. We have a great relationship with them, and there's something we cannot do day to day or make our campus safe without both of those entities.
The Division of Student Affairs in recent years has really been working a lot with the university as a whole and increasing inclusion and diversity here on Auburn's campus. Could you just explain a little bit about what your role in that has been and what kind of y'all would like to see long term with that?
Sure. You know, we have a vice president for diversity and inclusion, Dr. Clayton, and Dr. Clayton and I work really well together. Her job is to make sure the university as a whole moves forward. And that includes faculty, staff, A&P, staff members, and also students as a general. So for us in the student affairs, we want to make sure everybody's inclusive. The one thing that sometimes makes people uncomfortable, they have to understand my job is to represent all 29,776 students that we currently have enrolled here at school. Doesn't mean I agree with their philosophy, doesn't mean that I agree with what their mindsets are. As long as it's safe, then we've got to make sure we represent them. And so we work with Taffy's group, but we also work with different groups and our student groups to make sure they understand that. We are a state public institution, so with that comes freedom of speech, and freedom of speech to make sure that we have federal financial aid so people can come to school, and grants. We have to ensure that. So we really work to ensure that that is not violated, people's First Amendment rights. At the same time, we look at what we want to get to in terms of our class makeup. Right now, we are about 40%, 45% out-of-state students, the rest in-state students. We are the land-grant institution, so when we look at diversity and inclusion, we have to make sure that the out-of-state, the in-state ratio stays about that same because we are the land-grant. We want to represent our state. At the same time, we do need to increase what we talk about in terms of ethnicity on our campus. We are a predominantly white institution, which we know that they're called PWIs. But we need to be a better representative of our state population. So we need to increase some of our first generation, we need to increase some more of our veterans, we need to increase more of our Hispanic Latino population and our African American population. And we're really working on how can we recruit those students. And not only recruit, but make sure they're successful here. It's easy to think about, okay, we just need to get the students here. We got to make sure they can be successful. And that's any student that walks in this door, no matter their ethnicity. When we start recruiting a student, we want to make sure they're successful. Myself was a first-generation college student, and school and college was a little difficult when you first start because you don't know what to expect. So we got to make sure we have those things in place so people can be successful.
And you were talking about making sure we keep our ratio between in-state and out-of-state students. As we've seen some of our sister institutions across the state increase their enrollment to majority out-of-state, we have been maintaining a majority in-state enrollment. You described a little bit about the land-grant responsibility, but could you go into a little bit of detail about what some of the benefits of making sure that we maintain the in-state enrollment here as a state institution?
Without a doubt, you know, Auburn University, we have a great brand. And the brand is not only about what we offer in terms of academics, but what we offer out of class and in the city of Auburn when we work together in that. So the big thing I would say is that we are the land-grant university, and the reason we were founded with the Monroe Act was to represent the people of the state. We are an agricultural school, that's how we were founded, and with that, with the engineering and the agricultural and mechanical portion of it, what do we need to do to make the state of Alabama successful? It not only helps us with economy here in the state, but it also helps us with jobs in the state. And that's why we really concentrate on our students here currently in the state of Alabama. We're very close to the state of Georgia, and Atlanta is a big hotbed for us, but so is Birmingham and Mobile. And we need to do a better job of getting to some of the smaller counties and smaller cities. The benefit for us is if we truly are the land-grant and the University of the state of Alabama, then we need to represent that. And that's how we do that, by making sure that we're a state majority for the people of Alabama and the state of Alabama.
Your office also oversees things such as student involvement in many of the student organizations as well. There are hundreds of different student organizations that touch most every student that probably is watching this show right now. Could you describe a little bit about what the importance of making sure student organizations and student involvement stays strong here on our Auburn's campus is to y'all's division?
All right, without a doubt, and I've been lucky. I've been at 4 different institutions in 4 different states, and no student body has been involved as much as you see here on Auburn's campus, and I think that's what makes it special. Research will tell you, and longevity research over 10, 15 years will tell you, the more involved you are on campus, the more likely you are to graduate and more likely you are to give back to your institution. And that's not just financial reasons, that's just in general, come back and support your institution, whether by time or support when people talk about it. The biggest thing about student involvement in student organizations when you get involved is it gives you a sense of purpose on campus and a sense of belonging. We know when you come and wherever you come from and you come here and you go to school, it's a little different, it's out of touch. You might not be from this area, you might be from a small town in North Alabama or a big town in South Alabama, and you come here, it is a little different. That's what a student organization is. You find like people that are like mindsets of you. We always know that. We like to push our comfort zones and get out, and we want you to push your comfort zones and get out and attend stuff that you're not comfortable with, but we know that all of us need that little bit of acceptance. And that's where the student organizations come in. And when they come in and you get involved on campus, you will do better on campus. You will feel pride in this institution. And as you feel pride in this institution, the institution feels pride in you. And that's why it's so important to be involved in our Student Involvement Center.
Dr. Woodard, you also talked a little bit earlier in the segment about the free speech on Auburn's campus. Your office has worked really hard over the past few months with the FIRE organization, and Auburn is now one of a few public institutions, very few in the nation, that actually has a green light status with FIRE for having good free speech standards here on Auburn's campus. How was that experience, and what are some of the benefits of making sure that free speech is preserved here on Auburn's campus?
Sure. So I believe, and as of today, I know as of when we got the designation, we were the only green light school in the state that had that, or the first one to have that. It's not easy to get to that point, and what you really have to do, Ken, is you have to really work on making sure you practice what you preach. If we say we're going to listen to all and it's a freedom of exchange of ideas from different people, then you got to practice that. And so for us, we have to look at our policies and procedures. And as I said before, it doesn't mean that I personally agree with every single thing that comes across. I don't. But that's not my job. My job is to represent everyone and to make sure it's safe. And so even last year when we had Mr. Spencer come on campus, it is something that we fought and we lost, and we knew we were going to lose kind of going into that. But that is something that we on a college campus are supposed to provide, is the opportunity for our students to be exposed to something like that. And at that point in time, it's got to be safe. So we work with FIRE, and FIRE is talking about doesn't matter what people believe, it's you got to provide the same to the left, to the right, to the middle, all around. And that's what we really try to do. It was not an easy process, and I understand now why people are not green lighted, because one mistake can really take you from the green light to the yellow light to even to the red light. And so we really try to be that way. And again, we work with that organization. The best thing it does for us in that organization, it shows people around the country, it shows people in different states, it shows people here locally that Auburn University is for every student that comes to this institution, and that Auburn University really does respect the exchange of ideas. And that's what that rating means for us, and that's why it's so important to us to have that FIRE rating of a green light.
And then finally, you mentioned that you represent all 29,000 students in your job. Your organization, your division actually offers many different services for students, especially those that might be in need, things like Auburn Cares, the food pantry, and things of that nature. Could you, for this last question, just kind of elaborate on some of those responsibilities of your office and kind of what it means to be a helping hand sometimes for some of the students that might be in need?
Oh yeah, and you know, that's where Auburn comes in. We talk about the family, and you want to talk about a family, what's the family do? You might argue a little bit, you might have discussions a little bit, but ultimately you're going to help each other out no matter what. You look at the normal student that comes to our institution, they got 2 parents, their gross family income is pretty well, and they can afford to come to school with no issues. We have a lot of students that are struggling, whether something came up, a death in the family, or just they got in hard times. And when those hard times come in there, that's when the family steps up. And that's where Auburn Cares comes in. Same thing with the food pantry, which is under Auburn Cares. And that's really at the heart of what we do. We want to make sure you're successful. If someone's going to school or going to class hungry, then they're not going to be successful. If someone has to go home at night and they can't pay their light bill and they've been without light or heat for 2 weeks and they're trying to finish up, they're not going to be successful. That's when we step in. And we're lucky, Ken, because we have private donors that help us with that. And those private donors know what that impact has. And that makes them somebody successful, and we change their lives because then we give them the opportunity to be successful after they leave here with that degree. That's where it comes in, and that might be one of the most important things that we do here on our campus. And we can't do it without the students that help us and out the private donors, but that's where we can actually help our students and make sure we practice, again, practice what we preach, which means what do you need to be successful? And that's where at home, we can go home every night and know, I've got these things on my mind, but I feel better because today we helped this person out. And that's what it's all about.
Thank you so much, Dr. Woodard, for joining us this week on Plain Talk, and thank you for watching. Join us each week for an in-depth conversation with a community or campus leader here on Eagle Eye TV, Auburn's news leader. Thank you and have a great week.